Welcome. My name is Flora Hamilton. I'm the CEO of the Chartered Association of Business Schools based in the UK, and we are organising the inaugural India-UK Business School Dialogue. The objective behind this exciting new initiative is to deepen partnerships in transnational education and research between Indian and UK business schools. Our partners that we're working with to achieve this objective include AMDISA, British Council, AACSB, AMBA BGA, EFMD Global, IIMR, and the India Business Group. In this podcast, I'm going to interview the Dialogue's two co-chairs. From India, we have Professor Debashis Chatterjee of IIM Kozhikode and Professor Pawan Budhwar of Aston University in the UK. And we want to hear from them the objectives that they have set for this dialogue conference that's happening in New Delhi from September the 15th to the 17th. So let me first introduce our speakers. Professor Debashis Chatterjee, he is the director of IIM Kozhikode. He is a globally renowned educator and leadership coach. He is a postdoctoral Fulbright scholar at Harvard University and is the author of 18 acclaimed books, both non-fiction and fiction. Professor Chatterjee is also credited with transforming a small town business school into a globally recognised institution, now ranked upon the top 3 IIMs in India and within the top 70 management business schools worldwide. He is also the longest serving head of a first generation Indian Institute of Management. Our second guest today is Professor Pawan Budhwar, who is the Associate Deputy Vice Chancellor International at Aston University in the UK. He is the 50th Anniversary Professor of International Human Resource Management at Aston Business School. He is the co-editor-in-chief of Human Resource Management Journal, and he has written and/or co-edited over 31 books. Professor Budhwar is the co-founder and first president of the Indian Academy of Management, an affiliate of the Academy of Management, and he is also the co-vice chair of research and publications of the British Academy of Management. Welcome, Professor Debashis and Professor Pawan. Thank you both for joining me in this conversation on the inaugural India-UK Business School Dialogue. Professor Debashis, let me ask you this first question. This dialogue is the first in its kind. It is being made possible through the business support of our business education community and partners. To start, could you share your vision as an eminent business professor and director for this dialogue? What inspired you to take up the role of co-chair, and what objectives do you think we need to focus on?
Well, I thought this was the first of its kind in terms of shift in mindsets on both sides. This is the stimulus which would provide those shifts, because we are all stuck in our geographical constraints. We need to see beyond those constraints to see there are opportunities out there. So any conversation begets conversion in terms of worldviews, ways of looking at each other. This will also expand the foundation, I hope, of Indian and UK institutions, because those footprints that we have broadly in some of the major towns and cities where prominent institutions reside, but there are other institutions of equal caliber strewn across the length and breadth of our geographies. So this will be an enormous opportunity for us to sample a broad range of possibilities and also explore opportunities for collaboration with a wide range of institutions that we have never even thought about. So this excites me a lot.
That is fantastic to hear, and thank you so much. Pawan, we'd love to hear about your vision.
Thank you, Flora. And let me congratulate you for initiating this really, really important initiative, which is badly needed. So what I want to share is we need to understand the context in which we are operating. And that is driving the vision for the dialogue conference. So the context is where the business schools and higher education systems, they continue to evolve. Within that kind of context, we are regularly asking, are we creating value for our beneficiaries? And within the business school, we can talk about the beneficiaries as our students, as our employers, as industry, and so on. And the analysis highlights that it's important to keep asking this question and keep amending and evolving the way we are delivering value to these beneficiaries. Within that analysis, the question of sustainability becomes important. How we continue to be financially sustainable, how we continue to grow, how we continue to improve our reputation as business schools, and so on. Within that context and analysis, internationalization is coming out very clearly that the UK business schools, the India-based business schools need to pursue internationalization. And they have been for a while. And that is contributing to the vision of this initiative, where we want to create a platform where the business schools from the two countries can come together and bring other actors within the wider ecosystem, which are like CABs as a professional body, which are the accreditation bodies, the funding bodies, the ministries, and others to come together, debate, discuss, and kind of talk about what the future holds in the form of not only challenges, but also the opportunities. So it's mainly to create this platform, invite people and speakers who can authenticate lots of information which is floating around. There is ambiguity within that, for example, regulation. But also the dialogue conference is aimed to create networks, which becomes a kind of sustainable networks going forward, and also to share good practice, which should help business schools in both countries to carry on progressing. So that's the kind of vision I have at my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's absolutely fascinating. And if I could stay with you, Professor Pawan, building on that, could you talk me through how you define success for the dialogue? What does it actually look like? What does success look like? And what kind of long-term impact would you like to see the dialogue over the coming years having on partnerships between UK and Indian higher education institutions?
The way I'm looking at it, because it's an initiative, and we want to take and pursue something which becomes sustainable, where if we ask the immediate success from the present planned meeting in September, then I'm looking for a co-created program on which we cover key topics which are core in the form of challenges faced by the business school community, and also to realize the opportunities which are available to take things forward. So one is co-created kind of program, which is already happening under your leadership. But also, as I said, to bring in key people, for example, the regulation at both ends, for example, the ministries involved at both ends, for example, the accreditation bodies, which are global bodies, to bring them on board as well. And of course, the deans and directors and key decision makers in the business school to come together and work together to take things forward, because the opportunities the platform via the dialogue conference is going to offer would be just immense, where they can benefit a lot. And I'm looking for people and colleagues coming to the dialogue conference should have an amazing experience where they say, wow, if I wouldn't have come, I would have missed things like anything. So I'm looking for a collaborative, engaging, friendly, encouraging kind of environment at the meeting. And then what this platform and the initial conference does, it should open up venues and possibilities for a number of other things where perhaps they can be considered as a physical venue in the UK, alternate year, and so on. So it should be creating something ongoing platform for the business school leaders and the wider ecosystem within which the business school is existing, where they regularly come and meet and talk about possibilities and also create future to continue to deliver value for our beneficiaries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Professor Debashis, can I put the same question to you? What do you define success for the dialogue? What does success look like during the dialogue itself? And what are your thoughts about the long-term impact of this dialogue that we're now launching for the first time?
Well, this is a forum, Flora, which you have created with a lot of anticipation and hope that it will end up becoming successful. But my orientation to this would be more than success, the significance of this, because we are looking at a very, very important breakthrough from the Indian perspective in terms of globalization of Indian education. Just as we are considered a huge market for foreign players, we are also aspiring to see how some of best of Indian Ivy League and best of Indian education can find global footprints. And so the significance of this will, from the perspective of the average Indian dean, director, institutional head, we're to see how India can hope to internationalize its education system. Where are the cultural and educational complementarities? Where is it that we can learn from the British counterparts, where the Britishers can gain a lot of traction from our strengths? And so this would be a forum that would open up not just a short-term engagement, but a long-term possibility, as Pawan said, and rightly so, is that we could have an annual, biannual kind of thing in multiple locations. So anything that is in the form of an initiative has an open-ended set of consequences. What will happen will depend on what is the nature of what we find significant in terms of the fare that is offered. I have no doubt that it will be a successful meeting of minds, because nothing of this sort has happened, to my knowledge, ever before. And so I would just say that this is a pioneering step, Flora, on your behalf and behalf of the institution that you represent. For me, the biggest success for the long haul would be to see that there's a seamless flow of information on either side of the equation. The first is flow of information, then there's a flow of engagement and emotion, and then there's a flow of trust. So we begin to trust each other as we come closer, and we can bet on those institutions whose members we've met personally, and we know exactly when the rubber hits the road what is going to happen. And so this trust building is also going to be the reason for long-term success of such a venture.
Thank you so much. That's a lovely, lovely way to put it, this seamless flow of information, trust and engagement between these two communities. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. So moving on to the next question I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to start with you, Professor Debashis, is, for the UK business schools, many of them have already committed to travel to India to take part. What advice would you give them to help them prepare to make the most of this experience? And what should they be thinking about as they prepare, and what should they be focusing on when they get to the Dialogue Conference?
They should read up a lot more about Indian institutions through the informal channels, blogs, and other forms of data which is not available on the official websites of institutions. So there will always be that little access to the hinterland of Indian education. And you could also think of both aspiration and desperation from the Indian context, because there's a huge amount of talent here that were desperate to land in the United States of America, but they will now move Europewards, and England is the first stop. And so there is an opening up of opportunities because of geopolitical reasons. And I think this would generate a lot of interest among UK, and they should read up a lot about what's happening to those Indian students who would otherwise not be in India, somewhere else. And so what kind of opportunities are they looking at through these institutions from Britain? Whether they would like to attend a British university who's starting off in India, or they would like to travel to Britain. There's a whole range of people that you might want to look at. Think of the desperation that is there, implicit in the market demand. And there's also an aspiration to look at the best schools. And if there's a collaborative program, let's say between Oxford and one of the IIMs, between one of the top schools of UK and another IIT, then we would have opportunities on both sides of the equation. There's collaborative, there's joint degrees, joint explorations of research. UK has an enormous, I think, enormous experience in high quality research, solving problems. India will have those problems. Britain may not have the problem, they may have research capability. I think there's a huge complementarity here, and we must look up the problems that India is facing and see if you can find a solution. I think your best opportunity is to find solutions to our persistent problems, which are of many kinds. And so I think British universities should gear up to confront those problems and articulate a potential solution even before they're asked for. That would be a great starting point for collaboration, I think.
Thank you so much. So, Professor Pawan, coming to you, what do you believe? How do you think the UK business schools should prepare? What are the tips and techniques that you would give them as someone who's very experienced in internationalization?
So Debashis has shared a number of useful things. So I'll just summarize them under three headings. One is, given India is extremely diverse, and some colleagues may be traveling as leaders and in this kind of format for the first time. So for them, practical advice is important. They need to plan in advance, act in advance, prepare a lot, which means not only what Debashis was alluding to, try to find information about the probable partners, ask for clarifications. We have some forthcoming sessions to debrief and prepare colleagues who are traveling, planning to travel to India in September. So attend those sessions. My second category would be under the strategic kind of thinking. And within this, the key one is to set realistic expectations, okay, where the systems are very different, the people, how they operate is different, the culture is different. So the thinking has to be mid to long term kind of benefits. The thinking has to be how we can do things which would be mutually beneficial. So if we think of the win-win scenario, that would be really helpful. Think of possible domains within our ecosystem. So on one hand, we can talk about students and related things. We can talk about research. On the other side, we can talk about industry-related things. So we should have an extended thinking on the possibilities which this will allow. And be patient as well, but also act fast. I've seen colleagues in India, they act pretty fast. So that is really important. It can be capacity building, which is really, really needed at both ends. So on the strategic side, the thinking has to be complementarity, how we can complement. And before arrival, I will say the last one is still plan, prioritize, because you will end up having so many things at the dialogue conference. And the realistic expectations, as I said, do your homework, but keep approaching CABs for any clarity. So that would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to now come to you, Professor Debashis. I mean, do you have any particular advice for the UK business schools that are committed to travelling to this dialogue and or are planning to make that commitment?
Well, first expect the unexpected, because India is changing by the day, not month or years. The kind of churn that's happening here is the massive shifts contrary to what you might think. Things are cropping up. Every day there are 15 new schools being commissioned by some government. And you understand that education is a federal subject, not a central subject. And so India has multiple educational regulatory bodies, multiple states that have different orientation to education. A state like Maharashtra would be very different from a state like Kerala. Maharashtra is entrepreneurial. They have already prepared the ground for collaboration. Kerala would be conservative, but they have equal aspiration to free up the education space for private enterprise, for international forays. And so India is a variegated, as Pawan rightly said, it's a very, very variegated, it's a very uneven landscape. It's not one size fits all kind of country. And so you must be prepared to see that your surface area of collaboration meets those points of surprises. Because if you come prepared with a one notebook thinking of Indian education as a monolith, you'll be very disappointed, because there are 300 different ways of cooking the potato, 150 ways of cooking the rice, but equal number of ways of starting a school. And so you have to be prepared to know the individual behind the system, and the culture behind the individual, and the context behind the culture, and the soil that creates the context and culture and the individual, and in that order. So the in-depth understanding of exactly who you're speaking to will always help.
Great, thank you so much. And then may I stay with you, Professor Debashis, and ask you then, as someone who's spent quite a lot of time in the UK in the last year, what advice would you give to the Indian business schools as they come to meet the delegation of UK business schools that are going to be in New Delhi in mid-September?
Well, I think I'll pick on something that Pawan said on strategic thinking. Indians have to look at strategic inflection points when they look at global internationalization of Indian education, or accepting a foreign entity into their fold. And so what are the strategic shifts that this school will have if they were to embrace a very different set of programs or different set of students? Then they must look at untapped opportunities that there exists in the UK system. I'm told there's plenty of grants available for high-end research, and I'm sure if they can collaborate with academic talent in the UK context, those grants can be accessed through their counterparts in the UK. And so you should look at where is the funding available for the kind of joint projects that you want to do. And finally, this is going to be an adventure of ideas, because fundamentally education is not just about brick and mortar nuts and bolts pedagogy. It's also about a new set of ideas that emerge at the cusp of two disparate disciplines, disparate countries, disparate cultures. So ideas mix, match, collaborate, and they create something absolutely new, never seen before. And so mindfulness can coexist with mechanics. We do not know what kind of possibilities there exist in this, but I am looking forward to this extraordinary synthesis of minds and cultures, and of course those unexpected turn of events that I'm sure will happen as you decide to embrace this conference. With Flora's infectious enthusiasm and Pawan's administrative acumen, this is bound to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Pawan, could I ask you what tips and advice would you give to the Indian business schools that are signing up to join the dialogue in September?
Again, building on a number of things which Debashis has shared, which are highly, highly useful. So I see this as a rare opportunity for India-based business school, where things are coming to the doorstep. And at one place, they will find so many business schools, UK-based business schools, to explore possibilities. So my suggestion to them would also be to prioritize, because in 2 days, if you try to do 10 things, maybe very thin, but focus on some of the core things which would be really beneficial for their business school. Research as an example, talking about employability of graduates can be an example, executive education can be an example, and also say within the expectations, be honest, be critical. Colleagues from the UK will not mind if you are critical, but also offering a solution-based approach where you say, here are the challenges, but this is how collectively we can resolve them, because that's how we will improve. And that's how, going back to the important topic of trust. So we are building new relationships, and one of the key elements to succeed in these new relationships is trust. So the reliability has to be there. Keep looking for complementary areas where each side can really help, and genuinely there are a number of those. And share those expectations in advance, where there should be some briefing sessions for India-based business schools as well. But there are avenues being created where they can share what are they expecting from the two-day dialogue conference and so on. So that's how I see it. But it's an amazing opportunity which is being created. And I'm very, very hopeful everyone will find this really meaningful event. Thank you, Flora.
Thank you. So my final question, I'll come to both of you. I'll come to you first, Pawan. Just could you give me a very quick answer? What is your message, your call to action to those business schools who have not yet booked?
So this is, as we have shared, this is such a unique opportunity. So you have to be on the bus. So don't miss the bus. So the opportunity is coming to your doorstep, and the possibilities are just amazing and immense. Expected benefits and the learning expected from this will help the respective business schools to go forward in leaps and bounds, where perhaps they may be feeling stuck. Individually, they may be trying, testing few things. It will help them to update knowledge, information. It will help them to create new networks, solid networks, and to initiate something with selective partners, with guidance of experienced people, and so on. So I say this is an unbelievable opportunity which has been created under the leadership of CABS and Flora, you in particular, and they should not miss this. Otherwise, they will feel bad later on.
Thank you, Pawan. So, Professor Debashis, final question to you. So what is your message to those business schools that are still thinking about whether they should sign up?
Well, the real success is to show up. So just show up. And I think what will unravel before you is the world's largest population of 1.5 billion wanting to see a quality of life that takes shape through education. Education is the only transformation that can happen in a population of this magnitude. And so you're not just looking at a market, you're looking at a windfall. And if you don't show up, you miss the windfall. That's all that there is to it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say thank you both so much for joining me in this conversation this morning. It's wonderful for us to be able to record and hear exactly your vision, your objectives, your ambitions for the Dialogue Conference. And we are all very excited and very much looking forward to having a very, very packed Dialogue Conference at the Shangri-La Eros Hotel in New Delhi, September 16th to 17th, supported by the British Council reception on the previous evening. So please do reach out to us if you've got any further queries. We really hope that you will join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Flora.